Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Travelers Season 2, Episode 9. It is called Update. So, full spoilers for the episode. And this one actually addressed immediately, right at the start. We go to this theatre with Philip,
Yes.
and it addresses our questions of, well, what does a historian do once they run out of information? And I think we even questioned a few episodes ago when this started to come up, like, can they update them somehow? Can they send them information? Because they can send messages, so can they send like an encyclopedia of updates? And seemingly they can, but there's some catches to come along with it. So everyone else who's there is a historian, and they're told they're not allowed to tell this to even their teammates about this update, because they'll get new information on deaths and things like that, either for their teammates or maybe their teammates' loved ones. So they should never tell anyone. The one thing that's omitted, of course, is their own deaths, for the obvious reasons of you'd probably freak out and not focus on anything, and you'd be obsessed about the fact that you're going to die in X number of days or years or whatever. So, all very interesting. And they're like, okay, so you take these 2 pills after, and then the rest of the pills, that's to help with the side effects, because this is not a natural way to get information, to get knowledge. This is unnatural, the way we're pumping this into you. So there's some side effects, and the main side effect, if you don't take these pills, is that you'll start to see like echoes of alternate timelines. And I'm like, oh boy,
Yeah.
oh my, okay, we're going to
It's
have
like,
some fun with this.
we're getting into some deeper ideas now.
Uh, it's interesting. Like, I wonder if it's because he still has memories of the previous timeline, but they've pumped all this new stuff because everything's changed into him. I don't know how that accounts maybe for exactly some of the stuff we see at the end of the episode, because I mean, why would he know about that specifically? But I have to imagine that's where
I wonder if there's just some bleed of this information that's been amassed in this timeline for them. Maybe it kind of collects little bits that have kind of they've gotten from other timelines accidentally, and it's kind of like a rolling update sort of thing.
yeah.
So there's bits of other stuff in there that's just but like just try and focus on the one.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the director's constantly dealing with the fact that the timeline's changing. Like, every time something happens, the timeline changes a little bit, and the director in the future is basically somehow keeping track of those changes.
It has to be aware, otherwise it wouldn't know what it's done and what it hasn't done.
Yeah. So, and obviously all the historians going back just learn what happened on their version of the timeline up until when they existed, and then they come back. This is kind of like, well, we're going to have to break you a little bit because we have to pump it into you the way the director kind of handles information, and clearly that has some interesting effects. And yeah, I think the most notable thing about this scene is, though, as he's getting information. By the way, I actually laughed out loud when he said, "Oh, when you run out of pills, call this number," and this number just flashes on the screen for like a millisecond, and the woman who's like sitting 2 seats down is like, "Did you get that?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, of course I did.
He wasn't even paying attention. He was looking at his bag, his little goodie bag with pills in it.
He must have seen literally out the corner of his eye.
Yeah, but of course. And then they just like pump, lots of the Travelers code at them. I was tempted to call it Matrix code, but that feels insulting now.
It's Matrix code, but yellowy orange instead of green.
Also, it doesn't feel like it's going up and down. It's going left and right more, I feel.
No, that's fair.
Actually, it's not even going left and right. It's just kind of changing
Kind of going
numbers.
in and out, isn't it?
It's just changing numbers wherever it is.
It has almost like a 3D, like a 3D model effect.
Yeah, whereas the Matrix was always this vertical kind of thing. Yeah. Weird thing to be talking about, but no. I think the important, obviously the core details of what might happen because of this, is Philip crying as he's getting this information. Like something he's seen in there is hitting him hard, and obviously there's a couple of theories. I think giving the rest of the episode is what they could be leading to. There could be multiple. There could be several.
I'm inclined to think it's more than just one thing as well. Like just the way it's just there. It might not even necessarily be something so specific. It might just be, oh, okay, this is all these deaths that are all new since last time. That's got to be emotional for anyone, right?
That's fair, yeah. And what's interesting, because he can't tell the team about the update necessarily, he just has to claim that he got a messenger with a few specific like lottery numbers, and he's like, okay, it's suspicious if I win them all. So, Marcia, you put one on. These are the numbers. Carly, you put one on. Here's numbers. And I'll invest that when you get the money back, and we'll make it grow and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So all fine and well, but there's a couple of key little scenes that really stick out to me. Obviously, what happens with Mac in this episode, you could argue maybe he saw that. That's one obvious thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other, though, is at one point Carly comes by, and she's just dropping off the money. She won, the however many thousands of dollars it was, and is dropping it off. And she's like, yeah, I took some, and it's like, oh yeah, I need a new part for my car, and needed something for the kid, and whatnot. And he's like, okay, I'll make it work. And it's kind of awkward, and it basically, he's like, oh, so how are things going with Jeff? And, the whole family thing, and you with the kid. And she's like, fine, why? Why are you asking? It's like, I'm just no reason. And it's a funny little scene, because she's like, are you like getting a thing for me? He's like, no. And then he feels bad about saying that, so he's like, don't get me wrong, you're very attractive. And then it just gets really awkward, and they're both just kind of like, this is very awkward, let's leave now. And it's a funny scene, but you get the impression that the reason why he's asking is because something might be happening to Jeff soon. And it's almost like he's saying, hey, are you growing attached to him? Because it might be worth not being attached.
Is this going to be hard?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, and I'm convinced of it, because in this episode it's the first time Jeff's really kind of broke through. That whole scene where he's like, they've been exercising, but then he puts the music on, and he gets us to dance.
Oh, why am I watching him exercise again?
Because something bad's going to happen to him soon, when you have to at least be a little sympathetic.
This is the thing. I don't think I can care at this point. I think it's been too long.
Yeah, I mean, obviously season 1 painted him as such a villain, it's hard to actually kind of latch on to him in any real way. But I like everything else about it, though. I like Philip knowing about it and being concerned that she's going to care. I do like the potential of Carly having that mixed emotion of like, well, I hated him most of the time I was here, but it's still going to hurt in some way.
That could be fun.
Yeah,
well, maybe not fun is a forever, but interesting.
So I can see potential there with that. I mean, Jeff himself has basically been a plot device since the start of the show. I think writing him out as a plot device, or more likely a traveller will use his body, and we'll keep him around, but it'll be a traveller from then on, which would be maybe an interesting thing. That's the great thing about this show, is they can kill off characters but keep the actors on the payroll.
Yeah, it depends what they kill them by.
Oh sure, yeah, obviously. If they get cut into 1,000 pieces, then they're gone.
like heart attack, for example. It's like, well, okay, there's not really much you can do to prevent that last minute.
Oh, of course, yeah, it has to be something in the body. Like if they get into the body in time, they can prevent whatever it was going to be. Oh, obviously, yeah. They're not cheating the natural courses of death. So yeah, Philip's stuff really interesting. Obviously, at the end of the episode is he's sitting there, he's just testing his knowledge. He's watching the news or whatever it is, or the financial reports, and he's just word for word just citing what the guy's saying. And then he looks over and he sees his team consoling Mac, but they're not really there. And he sort of goes up and he's having like a sort of trip moment, and he's seeing them, and then he gets close and he sort of like snaps out of it, and then they kind of fade away, and then he's like, shit, I'm having these timeline hallucinations. And he travels back and he's like, the pills are there, but then they fade away, and then he like focuses and then they fade back in, and he's like, okay, pills. And I'm like, okay, it's interesting. Do you know what I loved about this scene though? The final shot. I don't know if you noticed how they framed this final shot.
Go on. I've noticed a lot of things about framing in this episode in general.
Yeah, well, there's another one with him as well, actually, the 12 steps thing. Yeah. But the final shot of this is that it's him, and it's just kind of like I mean, in terms of framing, it's just kind of a normal shot, but it's sort of between like the two monitors or whatever. But the perfect thing about it is, one is that because there's a lot of like black from the back of the monitors, he's kind of just on his own little strip here, right? So he feels kind of small. But also on top of that, there's a reflection of him over to the right that's off center, and it's like divergent. There's like a copy of him in a different place. It's like a really nice subtle little touch that I thought was a really nice way to end the episode. So I really appreciated that.
No, that is nice. I wonder if we're gonna have some of this where we're not sure if something's real or not, or like which timeline it is. I guess they're both real, arguably.
Well, it depends. Are the fragments of this timeline he's seen, is that one that would have happened but they've prevented, so therefore it's completely fake? Or is it the one that could happen if they succeed doing something else?
Well, but this thing, it also, because it says alternate timelines, is this something that's concurrent with them, and it's just what could have been, rather than, so it still exists almost just as a separate timeline, whereas they're not potential timelines in the way that you're thinking.
Well, that was the second thing I said. What you just said was the first thing I said.
No. I mean, it's happening there and now. Like, so it's still happening. It's still real.
Well, but that doesn't go along with what this show's done up until now.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Is this introducing something new?
What where all the timelines are happening concurrently.
Perhaps. Yeah.
If that's what's happening, sure. But going with the rules the show's set up so far, I would think it was a timeline that it happened, but because something's changed, it's not happened anymore. Therefore, it's the fake one, if you will. Because that's what you asked me. You asked me, is one fake or are they both real? And if we're going with the rules of the show set up so far, I would say that if it is one that did happen and now didn't because they've changed something, then it's the fake one. Because it didn't, yeah. I said it weird. So what do you want from me? But and therefore it is like quote unquote fake timeline. It's just a fragment of a could have been.
But it still happened, right? In some, it was still real at one point for it to exist like that. Because it has to have happened for them to have changed something.
It depends what you define by happening.
Okay.
Because if we're in this timeline, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen in this timeline, yes. Agreed. But it must have happened at some point.
Yeah, but it depends how you look at it. Are you looking at each timeline as an actual thing, or are every other timeline just a theoretical thing because they don't exist anymore?
No, it's fair. No, it's a good question, and I don't know which this show is playing by just yet.
This is the thing. Every form of time travel show or movie can pick kind of how they treat this, and I don't know how this show is going to treat it. Up until now, there's been no ideas that there's multiple timelines actually happening at the same time. That has never been a thing, and I'm not saying they're not going to do that. They could be seeing that. I
think this is the first indication that it could be, though.
Which is why, for me, I think, at least until I see other things that maybe push me down a path, I think right now I'm saying these are echoes of what would have happened had they not changed something. So the reason why it's there is because the director seemingly remembers everything that happened, even when things have changed. It has to, otherwise it can't do anything. To me, because the director's sending this message, all this info back, that's what these are coming from, to some extent.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking. So they're a memory of a timeline that didn't happen anymore.
You nearly did it again, then.
I really did. Look, this is confusing. They're just making me mince words, alright?
No, it's fine.
Right, it's exciting. And I did like that scene at the Addicts Anonymous 12 Steps when they're...
that was nice.
When someone finishes telling their story and it's like, Philip, you get into share, and he's like, I've got a secret. And I actually almost thought he was, because he starts just telling everything, right? He's like, I've got this secret, I'm from the future, and I've got this new update, I can't tell my friends. And for a little bit I was like, maybe this is kind of like how in the first episode with Vincent, the psychiatrist, where it's kind of protected and no one will take it seriously, so he can just say everything, get it off his chest.
And also, it's presented as if it's happening. There's no...
Oh, yeah.
The one at the end kind of goes, you're kind of aware that it's this illusion. Whereas this is presented as fact. This is happening to us, at least.
What I think is really funny about that is that I think in the scene itself, because it ends with them just going, hey, Philip, and it's like, you never said anything after I've got a secret, I think in the scene itself, it just plays like that he was fantasizing about that for a second, right? But then at the end of the episode where you see the alternate timeline, you're like, oh, maybe that wasn't just a fantasy. Maybe that actually was...
I think he did experience it.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting. Because I think on its own, it plays just like your classic, he fantasizes about this moment style scene. But when it reminds you at the end, no, remember, this can happen. It's like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So you're thinking about it, and you're like, okay, maybe he did actually experience that. And he did say it, but...
Yeah, and that moment, that's one of the other ones where I really love the framing in this episode, the way the camera just drifts off, and there's just so little of him left in the side of the frame. Yeah, there we go.
Like that.
It does it a few times this episode, but it's always done it a bit here and there. This show.
What I thought was interesting about it, though,
this episode,
is it didn't just cut to that. It sort of did this thing, and the audio people get nothing out of this, but bear with me. It did this thing where it kind of went like that and then went back out again. Like it was almost like it was teasing you,
drifting slightly in and out.
Yeah, it was almost like it was teasing like it was going to go back to a normal framing, and then it would go back, and eventually it did. But it was a really interesting thing. Again, it's the idea that he's off center, that he is now splintered in some way, which is why I really like that closing shot where there's the reflection of him.
But I found it particularly interesting. It's not just him that has this framing effect. This episode, like most of them have it at some point or another. So it's really interesting that all of a sudden it's really heavy in this episode of just, okay, no, we're off to the side. Things aren't quite what they seem.
I think, yeah, I think that's maybe another visual indication that things have changed so much compared to their future that they came from. At this
Yeah.
point, they're all so far removed from it, and except Philip, who now is part of like two timelines where he knows his own history, but now he has all this new history from the update.
Yeah.
So that's why
Exactly.
he's splintered, and there's like multiples of him in the frame, whereas everyone else is just off to the side.
I can't wait till the rest of them inevitably learn about this.
Yes, that will be curious. So, what plot will we tackle next? I suppose, yeah, we'll briefly tackle Marcy and David. Marcy gets the lottery ticket, of course, or gets the numbers for the lottery ticket, and she's with David. They're doing a little bit of Tai Chi or something like that in the park. Very therapeutic, as David puts it. They're at the store. She's getting her lottery ticket, and you just see him copy the numbers. He's like, "I'll just copy these," and he just as if he's on cheating in a test. And he's like, "Oh God, he's going to win. This is going to look so weird."
Yeah.
But it led to maybe one of the funniest scenes in the entire show.
Absolutely.
Where he wins. He's eating his cereal, and he wins, and he's looking at his ticket, and his reaction's priceless. But even better than that is the phone call to Marcy, where he goes through this roller coaster of emotions, where he's like, "Marcy, I won. As $32,000. Oh, it would have been 64, but someone else won. Oh wait, that's you. I copied your numbers. That means it's your money. Oh, I guess I should give it to you." But, I mean, technically, I mean, what was the chances that your numbers would have won over my numbers? Oh, that was so greedy. Is this what money does to people? I've changed. I'm a monster. I'm going to go.
Oh, this scene killed me.
It was fantastic. Start to finish, it was fantastic. But here's the great thing. Is that David's so often in this show being the moral compass. And he literally goes to all of his homeless, like, not friends, but because they're not quite his patients.
Patience, almost. I think he calls them patients.
Unofficial patients.
Yes.
As he put it in another episode. But he basically goes to all of them and gives them some money. And he gives it all away. And he even gives his bike away, which leads to another funny scene where he, when Marty comes over, he's like, "Yeah, I gave it all away. And I, like, gave so-and-so my bike so he could go to work." And
I figured I'd just buy another one. I was like, oh shit, I should save some money.
And Marcy at first is kind of like shocked by it, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But then she's like, she sees the sweetness in it, and she sits down and says, "First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buy you a bike." And he's just like,
and he's like, you knew she was going to offer.
yeah, but he's like, "I'm so glad you said that."
Yeah.
Because at first he's like, I'll get the steps in. I'll do some walking. And he's like, "First thing I'm going to do is buy you a bike." Because she has to make up an excuse. She's like, "Oh, I've got a lot of debt," because she can't be spending it because it's going to fill up for
Exactly.
financing. So
She's keeping some because, like I said, he said, "Oh, I'll have a bit left over."
yeah. So she's buying him a bike. So David's getting a bike. But again, I think it's, if Marcy's not seeing why she liked David in the first place, she's definitely seeing it now. Come on, he just gave all of his 32 grand to homeless people.
Yeah, yeah. It was a really fun scene because the first he goes to the first guy. I thought he was just giving it all to this one guy at first.
Yeah.
And then we see him go to someone else. I'm like, oh, okay, he's doing bits for all of them.
Yeah. Although it sounds like he had a list of people and then he ran out because he didn't realise how much money he had.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah. But hey, points for effort. I'll give him points for effort. I wouldn't do
That's
that.
why we like David.
Yeah. Admittedly, I don't know any homeless people, but maybe if I did know homeless people, I'd feel inclined to give them something out of my winnings, but
Sure.
I don't know any homeless people.
No, me either.
And I ain't giving you any of my money, so...
Cheers.
Alright, I'll buy you a...
This is going to be something that benefits you, really, isn't it? This is going to be one of those gifts where it's like, this is for you, but really it's for me.
What do gingers like these days, Connor? I don't know. What are you into?
I don't know. What do gingers like? You think I'm connected?
Cannibalism, you like gingerbread, man.
I do like gingerbread quite a lot, actually.
I like gingerbread. It's the best kind of ginger.
No. Yeah, I did. Yeah, so I thought about arguing. I was like, nah, I can't.
Yeah. So no, that was just a delightful story, honestly, the David stuff. It was delightful. Less delightful was the Trevor plot at the high school. This went down a dark path I did not see coming when this... I mean, obviously it gets to it quite quickly in the first scene, but like when it started, I was like, where's this going? Oh, okay, alright.
Yeah, I like that it, you're saying, oh, I didn't see this coming, but neither did he. And so it is a surprise.
Oh, that's what I like about it, because I think the whole coach has been molesting the teammates thing. I feel like It's handled relatively well. I feel there's maybe one or two moments where it's just a touch heavy-handed, but I think what really works for me about it is the whole idea that Trevor didn't know, or Traveller number so and so didn't know. To be more specific in this case, because it's this idea that he did this to this body, and now he knows about it, and he has to okay. And you get this other guy, his name Kyle, his friend, who's he's quit the team. He's same reason you did, and because at first I thought they were going to sort of swerve nothing ever actually happened to Trevor. He just maybe Kyle just assumed that's why he also quit. Thing. But no, it seems like it especially throughout the episode, you got the scene with Grace, and she's trying to pretend to be a counsellor now, and the coach is trying to ask Trevor back in the team, and eventually he goes to Philip and he's like, "Hey, this is the coach's name. What have you got on him?" He's like, "Oh, he's arrested for molestation, assault, so on."
16 counts of that, and then possessing child pornography, I think.
Yeah, that was the last part. Yeah, and he's arrested for it, but no time soon, implying that it's going to be years before he's caught.
Yeah,
and Trevor's like, "Hey, we need to do something about this. This is just we can't let this go."
I love his argument. He's like, "Yeah, but Protocol 4, we can't, not Protocol 4. It's like, there's Protocol 5, really, for me. It's like, well, it affected me. If he hadn't died, he might have come forward sooner. So,
yeah,
I'm just doing my duty."
that makes some sense. Obviously, I like how the other events kind of play into this, because you almost think that everything that happens with Mac, which we're going to get to, would maybe convince Trevor to not interfere, even though he really wants to. But instead, him and Philip actually are more gung-ho about it than ever. Philip's in on it. Trevor tries to get him to confess himself, because again, Trevor, being the old man of the group, is very honourable and tries to give him the chance, no, you confess up and take your punishment and see to yourself. And then, not only does the coach refuse, he gets threatening. There's that line in particular where he's like, "I know you very intimately." Was like, "Oh, yeah. God, you make me sick now." And Trevor just stands up and says to Philip, in front of the coach, "Release the material," and walks out the room. He's like, "What do you mean, release the material?" And then the emails start coming in. Yep. So,
yep.
I don't know. I thought it was an interesting idea that something like that happened to one of them before they came into the bodies, and then they found out about it after.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really different. It's kind of like feeling victimized, but it's not really you that was victimized. But you have an attachment to your host. There's some interesting ideas in there.
And it's the expectation that you should feel that way, which kind of plays into it as well.
Yeah, because there's the scene where he's trying to get Kale to talk to him. I thought was particularly, he's the sparring. He's got the pads on, and he's just trying to get the information out of him. And I like Trevor's dodging of the questions actually, because he's like, "Oh, what did he say to you to convince you?" And he's like, "Oh, same."
Yeah.
Because he can't really get specific.
He's just trying to get the information all right. What exactly happened?
But he's genuinely trying to help him, and you feel quite bad. Which, by the way, I forgot how exciting it was when the time to death comes up. Because they've not done this much this season, but last season did this a few times where there'd be multiple people it could be that were dying, and it would come up saying time to death 3 minutes, and it's like, oh, it came over Kat. Could it have been the baby? Could it have been this guy Kyle? And
could it be all of them?
Could it be all of them? Yeah, so it was doing that thing where it was cutting around. But obviously the Hall and Luca show up in front of Trevor. Of course, they went to prison last year. They were the sort of the more veteran Traveller team who were a bit more strict with the rules, or strict and loose depending on what they felt, depending on the situation, really.
Yeah, a bit more. They were kind of the prototype. You know how we've been discussing a lot of the themes. This idea is, okay, is the machine the one that should be making the calls, or should it be us? They were kind of an early prototype of that, in the sense they were like, no, they play it by what they think is necessary in the moment.
Yeah. And of course, you hate him. Hall specifically, you hate. I mean, he's got that kind of know-it-all attitude all the time anyway.
Yeah. But
you kind of hate him by, the third act of this episode. Because, of course, Kat starts bleeding. And obviously she's panicking. Mac takes her to the hospital. Marcy comes in. And she's like, "Hey, this is a normal thing. We can't do anything. The drugs are doing what they can, but this is she's the place she should be." And Mac's hanging around the hospital, and he's just kind of like, "Team, I'll be off grid for a while. I'm going to be busy." And it just keeps kind of going along, and it's all kind of fine. It's your typical scenes of doctor saying, "Oh, we'll keep an eye on it. It's just this. We'll see how it goes." Mac's trying to convince her it'll be okay. And of course, last episode we were like, "Oh, something bad's going to happen," because
I wasn't expecting it this soon.
I'll tell you what I did not expect though. I did not. I mean, admittedly, obviously there's a swerve on it afterwards, which we'll talk about. But I was not expecting it to be because of someone. Like I wasn't expecting it to be a villain who did the deed that led to the sadness necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're going, okay, no, this is going too well, it's going to end badly for her.
Yeah, there'll be an accident, there'll be a miscarriage, there'll be something
Yeah.
like that. And you can tell it's Hall. He's got the surgical mask on, but you can tell it's him. You see the beard sort of peeking out.
Yeah.
It's just too suspicious. He sneaks into the room and he injects our tube with something. And I actually really love the moment afterwards where Mac just sees him coming out the room. He doesn't know it's him yet. He just sort of chases after us. Hey, nurse, what's the update? Like, what's going on? And he turns around and takes off the mask, and he's just like, gobsmacked. He's like, "This was for your own good.
Yeah.
Go be with her." And I'm like, "Oh God."
This is after the time to death has shown up.
Yeah. And all I'm thinking is like, I mean, is the argument here that they can't let the kid be born, so they're killing both of them? Obviously at this point, obviously we get more in a minute, and it's very emotional, and Mac afterwards is like, "Hey, keep an eye on Hall. Don't lose him." He's like, "He's here, boss." And I actually love the raw emotion of Mac arriving at the base and just gunning for him,
grabbing him and holding him back.
Every single member of the team has to hold him back. It's fantastic. And he drops like 3 F-bombs. Because this show has F-bombs, but they're quite sparse with them. They like to save them for, so they have impact here or there.
The occasional joke one.
Yeah. But this was like, no, unfiltered rage. He was, like, I almost kind of wished he got a punch off before they grabbed him. Just for the satisfaction.
Yeah, well, that would have been nice.
Because like I say, Hall's a bit of a smug prick. So
Oh, absolutely.
I would have enjoyed a punch. But, no, so he's there and they hold him back. And even Marshall's like, no, he had to listen to this. And we found out this was a mission from the director. Because the baby wasn't going to survive anyway. And it was going to kill her on the way out. She was going to die.
Well, that was it. She had that blood clot anyway. That's what it was, and it was that was what was going to kill her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his mission was because she would never get pregnant had they not broken Protocol 4. Mac was the reason for that. This was correcting the timeline so she was still alive, essentially, but it meant killing the baby. And basically, and I like that no one I mean, obviously Hall makes the crack about you broke Protocol 4. I like that no one on the team actually says anything about that. They just understand the emotion of the scene. Yeah, like they understand this is a heavy moment. We're not going to
question it later.
Yeah, if they even do. I mean, I can see them bringing it up in a sort of quiet moment at some point.
I can see it being addressed, especially maybe if, at the very least, Marcy will come and speak to him because obviously she's kind of in on it.
Yeah, actually, it would be interesting maybe if Carly comes to speak to him about it. Because Carly, they used to be in a relationship, so that'd maybe be an interesting conversation to have, is that he almost had a kid, which is something that they probably wanted together. And also just the idea that Carly went home immediately to her son and had to hold her son because the thought of this was too horrific to...
Yeah, no, it could be interesting.
It's kind of like whenever I see a cat get hurt in a movie or something, I have to grab one of the cats and...
I cheer.
And squeeze them and let them know that life is okay. Baby deaths, don't feel a thing. Cat deaths? Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, so that's actual cats, not cat in this.
Not cat in this. Although, cat, I mean, sure, I'd be a little upset.
Yeah. But still not as much as an actual cat, I'm
no,
sure.
Of course not. No. Humans are disposable. Cats and dogs are, can't be killing those. Those hurt. Sure. So, where was I? You were being cynical and being unfeeling about cats and dogs.
It's just cats.
Shut up. So, yeah, so that I like the emotional climax here. I liked how this kind of played into the idea of making the choices, and they say to, Hall even brings it up, hey, maybe we did have to be reminded of what some of our rules were, and that's why we went to prison for a time. Because he's like, oh, you sent us to prison, and Mac actually quite rightly says, well, if the director thought that was the wrong move, he would have stopped it from happening. You wouldn't have ever got to prison. So he's like, okay, fair point. So I guess we both had to learn, realign with the rules and the protocols.
Actions have consequences, essentially.
Yeah. So, I think that's interesting. I actually do kind of like that. Obviously, Kyle got a traveller in him, and he's now with Hall's team, who are now a team of 3. And I do kind of like that we have this other team that are around who aren't necessarily villains, but are kind of uneasy allies or kind of antagonists to an extent.
They're a little unhinged, aren't they? They're the hard ass cops who play by their own rules. Essentially.
Kinda. I mean, arguably, our team play by their own rules a lot of the time as well.
Well, that's the thing. Our team kind of do, but they stick to the protocols.
Sure.
For most of the time.
I guess the comparison would be the other team are the hard-edged old cops who take bribes from people because sometimes it's worth doing that and just capturing the big fish. Like, they have their own moral codes that's a bit corrupt. Yeah. That's what they are.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny because when this episode started and it was kind of scattershot, it was jumping, between the plots. I was like, okay, maybe this one will be kind of the moving the pieces episode. But again, kind of like the episode a few ago. I think it was episode 4, where with the bomb and the building and the assassination.
Yeah, and it felt kind of like, okay.
It started that way,
together.
and then it all came together to form this. Okay, this is an episode that is unified. They all fed into each other eventually, and it actually makes for a really satisfying kind of culmination when you realise that at least thematically they all kind of link together. So
it does, and that's the thing. So the vision at the end that Philip has of the team consoling Mac, is that a version where Kat wasn't saved, perhaps?
I think so. That's the impression I was getting, because he wasn't angry, he was just upset.
Yeah.
So there was no intervention from Hall. Therefore,
yes.
He was not angry because he didn't have someone to blame, he was just upset from the...
Because she died, yeah.
And it was later in the day as well, so arguably it would have been later in the day that she died, perhaps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, that was a solid episode.
Me too. Yeah, real good.
Yeah, it was nice to come back to it. It's been a few days for us watching this. It's been 1 or 2 days off for you guys seeing the reviews, but it's been a wee bit longer for us because we had this a little bit before Black Mirror, so we actually intentionally got ahead so that they could keep going up during Black Mirror for the most part. And then 8 was the last one we'd done, and it's been a few days since that, so it was nice to come back to it. I'm looking forward to the last 3 episodes. I can tell you're not getting one on Saturday because Saturday's quite busy. We'll be back to Travellers on Sunday night sometime.
Yes.
So you can look forward to that then. So yeah, let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Actually, one thing I want to bring up actually. I don't agree with this necessarily, but I do like the thought process here. At last episode, we got a comment about when Grace was talking to the director through the old bodies. Yes. And someone was saying they didn't read that as a director themselves. They read that as Travellers, maybe the ones high up in the future control, going back.
Okay.
I would say I don't agree with that, just because it basically means they're sacrificing themselves to send one little message piece by piece. It made more sense to me for it to be the director sending messages back.
Yeah, I think it was the messages personally.
But I like the idea though or at least I like the questioning of, has the director got a personality still? Because that was the big thing with that for us was, the director's actually speaking to someone. Like, the director has a voice, essentially.
Yeah, it's not just making decisions, it has thoughts.
Because it felt emotional when Grace was crying, and it was like, no, I thought you'd understand. Because that was the other thing, it said, I understand. I thought you'd understand.
Yes, exactly.
At least I think it did. I mean, maybe if you go back, I'll be like, maybe it did say we, but I think it said I.
Memory says I, but... memory's unreliable.
We could be like Philip. We could be remembering alternate timelines.
We could.
So that's the thing. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, get us on Patreon at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. There you go. There'll be a link to that in the description if you want to support us, along with some other stuff. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?